Hello, Internet. It's Daniel with Driving and Dragons. Wizards of the Coast has responded to the OGL 1.1. Let's see what they had to say. See you on the other side. So Wizards of the Coast has finally responded to all the backlash over OGL 1.1. They released a statement through D&D Beyond, and had a little bit of time to look at it, just kind of figure out what's going on. And needless to say, I don't trust them any more than anybody else does. It was a typical kind of says nothing corporate response that basically translates to we stepped in it and now we're going to have to change it. But I'm still also a little suspicious of it because I've said this before, and so have several other commentators that have said this same thing, is that there's a common tactic. It's a negotiation tactic where you step in and you intentionally poison the well right off the bat. You step in and you put out a ridiculous, insulting position. Now, this really only works when you're in the more authoritative position of the negotiation, when you have more of the cards in your hand. But what you do is you step out and you say, here's a really bad deal we're going to give everybody. Politicians do this all the time. They step out and they say, we're going to pass the take $1,000 from everybody bill. And everybody gets up in arms. They get furious about it. And then they come back, and after listening to their constituents and, doing some soul searching and negotiating with the other side, they say that they're ready to put before the floor the take $500 from everybody bill. And nobody stops to think, or at least a lot of people don't stop to think. Unfortunately, most people only pay cursory attention to this kind of stuff. It's all better now. They're no longer taking $1,000 from everybody. Whoop-de-doo, we won. And then the politicians passed the take $500 bill they always wanted. They do the take $500 bill all they wanted, and you lose $500. And it passed with flying colors because it was so much better. Same thing, hey, here's all the bad stuff we want. Oh, this is terrible, this is horrible. Well, in the fine print, we really only want to do these one or two really bad things. But we're gonna make a giant mountain of crap, and we're gonna polish it down to the peanuts, and you're gonna be happy that you got down to the peanuts, and this is a win for everybody. Even says it in the bottom of their letter. They're like, there are gonna be people who tell you this is a win, but it's really a win that they won and we lost. And it's like, it's really half right because we both won. And that's the truth. And really, Wizards is telling the absolute 100% truth there, except in the we both won part, because they're probably going to still spin that. The only way that it's probably going to be more like they both lose still. Because either they convince enough people to bury their head back in the sand, move on with one D&D, renew their D&D Beyond subscriptions, so on and so forth, and they manage to get the 2 or 3 bad things that they want, and everybody just takes it as, this is so much better than the OGL 1.1. We were able to beat them down and make them more reasonable. And Wizards wins and the players lose and the third-party content creators really lose. Or they do what they're going to do and it stays blown up in their face and pretty much everybody loses. The only way that this really comes out for the players is if by some miracle one of these other systems takes off and is able to provide a real competitor. But I have a problem there too. There's a lot of people that are bandy-hooing about and waving their banners, and they've raised the flag because all these people, the ORC, this great open gaming license that's going to be turned over to a non-profit and protected by a third party that Paizo is creating. Well, Paizo has some of the same stuff that they've already hinted at that was in the OGL that was a problem. Namely, this whole idea of a, morality concept or having a provision to prevent hateful dissemination and that sort of thing. The only way that works is if they have the ability to step in and cancel somebody's ability to use the license. And on top of that is they get to have the sole determining factor of what constitutes racist, discriminatory, bigoted, targeted, hateful, amoral, whatever. And while there's some examples that all of us can 100% agree with, the problem is who gets to say it. And it comes in two flavors. One is the nefarious corporate flavor. We've decided that this term is bigoted, so we're taking your stuff. Your rainbow kitten game that you made using our orc license is discriminatory against homosexuals because you've tied the rainbow back to a defenseless, cute animal, and because it's a defenseless and cute little kitten, you've just said that the entire homosexual community is a bunch of weak and weak victims, and that's bigoted, so we're shutting down your extremely successful kitten thing. They can do that. The only way that clause works is if it has a vast leeway, because if you make it too narrow, then people just circumvent it with loopholes. Or there is the other flavor in which it's bad, which is not the nefarious corporate way, it's the nefarious player-based way. It's the cancel culture way, where the big corporation that has some say over how the license works gets heavily lobbied by a vocal minority that has decided that they either don't like a producer, don't like a content provider, or they've decided that they want to believe that something is nefarious and wrong. And because of that, that's where you come up with a situation where basically the ORC just becomes a whooping stick for cancel culture to cancel people that ticked them off in some way. Sorry I keep scratching underneath my nose, folks. I've been a little sick and just got an itch from dry skin underneath the mustache there. So you can't have any kind of open gaming license or any open license like this that has one of these hate speech provisions or, bigoted language or amoral content provisions, because, you're going to have the same kind of problems across the board, where somebody's going to have to be in control of that, somebody's going to have the power to shut that down, and you're either going to hand power to some of these corporations or to these whatever organization ends up running it to where they can shut stuff down, or you're going to have the high pressure from somebody, from a vocal minority group or an activist group, probably one that doesn't play or care about your role-playing games, and the whole reason they're shutting stuff down is because they want to shut down whatever somebody put out, whether it's really offensive or not, or whether the majority of the community agrees that it should be produced or not. So unless they're going to completely remove all provisions that somehow allow an arbitrary third party to determine something should be shut down, it's not going to do us any better as a community. On the Wizards of the Coast side, this is 100% they got more backlash than they thought they were going to get. They did not expect the community to come together and defend the third-party creators. They expected everybody to do what, unfortunately, a large majority of our player base has done, which is bury their head in the sand. But there's still bad that can happen here. They can still find ways with a new OGL to push people into, if they don't push them into 1D&D, they can at least push them into 5E and then later 1D&D by saying, drive-through RPG. We're shutting down all content from 4th E backwards. So no longer, we're going to come after you if you sell 1E through 4E content. And yeah, you may be able to find some of that third-party OGL content that they've promised they're going to leave up. But what happens when you need a player's handbook or a monster manual or some other cool rule book because you want to try out 2E, 3.5, whatever? you can't get it. Well, now, me, say I want to run a 3.5 D&D game, and I got new players, like, hey, we're going to play this, I've got all the core rule books and everything. Well, now they can't get copies of the core rule book anymore because they're all shut down across on, they can't find them. They can't go buy the 3.5 player's handbook from Drive-Thru RPG. So they're just like, hey, instead of us all sharing a book or something of that nature, maybe we should just think about moving into a system that's more modern, that has more available content. And then, same old, they're still going to push to drive people to the VTTs. Make no mistake, the reason they made a statement, the reason they came back out was because of the mass unsubscribing from D&D Beyond, the mass shutting down of accounts, because what they care about is the VTT, the virtual tabletops. They don't care about pen and paper players. That is not their business model. They are looking for apps, they're looking to digitize content, they're looking to have digital content control, and they will push for it. So just take this 1.1, take both this orc from Paizo and this 1.1 OGL rescission, renouncement, revision, whatever Wizards calls it. Take both of these with not just a grain, but a heap of salt. Don't think that Paizo is suddenly coming in to save the community. They're playing the good guy. But both of these corporations, these are pro wrestlers. That's what they are. This is WWE pro wrestlers. And right now, Wizards of the Coast is the heel. And they're the big heel. But Paizo is only playing the babyface until the program says it's time for you to switch to the heel and get more so that we can sell more tickets. There's just too much stuff in there that sounds like it might be a good idea, that people on their face think is a good thing. We don't want people making crazy, gross sexual content. We don't want people making, the slave massa expansion where you get to beat black folks with whips, or where you get to, put Japanese folks in concentration camps and having rules and stuff for that. None of us want that. None of us want the Nazi expansion. But that's not what they're defending against. Because that won't sell on its own anyway. What they're defending against, what they're doing is leaving a door open to where Rainbow Kitten Brigade gets shut down for being anti-rainbow people. And really what it gets shut down for is somebody got mad. And DM Layer said this, and I wholeheartedly agree with this. We all have something in our past, somewhere that somebody can dig up, and they can spin it, take it out of context, manipulate it, to turn it into something that gets the torches and the pitchforks over here. We all have it. Every one of us. We all had a joke. We all said something that actually has nothing to do with whatever the topic is, that taken out of context and put into context with something else is now suddenly terrible and wrong. And as long as they have these clauses in any of these open licenses that says that somebody can step in and shut stuff down for objectionable content, as long as that's there, it's not going to be good for anybody, because anybody can be canceled with it. So take it with a grain of salt. Tell me what you think. Like, share, and subscribe. Talk to you guys next time.